All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Pasalacqua. And today we're going to be talking about, we're kind of turning the clock back, and we're going to talk about COVID, kind of what our thoughts were when lockdown happened, what things looked like when we had to grind through COVID, and then what we learned coming out of it. Something you and I talked about recently, why we put this on here, is we do want to put obviously the caveat that like COVID was obviously awful for so many people in so many ways. But from the business perspective, we were like, you know what? That our business model completely changed after COVID. And the tough decisions you and I made coming out of it is a main reason why we're at where we're at now.
I almost gave up.
Yeah. I was in those conversations.
I had a conversation with Chris and I'm like, dude, I'm too tired to do this over again. But basically us forcing to fire people, lay off people. I guess I don't want to use the word fire.
They were layoffs.
There was layoffs, right? And then there was furlough. And then there was like, hey, I'm going to keep you on payroll for as long as I can, right? And it got to a point to where like our business is all about sales in every month, right? It's basically, if you like really basic metric of the gym industry, it's sales per month, and then you have people walking out the door or your attrition, right? So the problem was we had a lot of members in our locations. Like most of them were packed.
Yeah.
The biggest problem though was when COVID happened, there was no sales that were coming in to offset the loss.
Yeah.
So every month it was just like every location was like -6, -8, -6, -8. And it was for months and months and months. It was for a couple, I mean, not for another, it was over a year of that shit.
Yep.
Right? Even though then we had like some limited classes and outside classes because of the summertime and everything else. But it got to the point to where it's like, when is this going to stop?
Yeah.
We couldn't even get people to come back in the door.
Yeah.
And it got to a point to where I'm like, we're running marketing and like, people are just not showing up. People are not into this. Ad spend was through the roof because people weren't leaving their houses.
Yes.
And it affected our industry bad, aggressively. And we've talked about this in other episodes, where it's like COVID as an overall completely changed the fitness industry. And it basically did like almost like an industry reset to where anyone that was around for a while or was there and like didn't have a great model, most of them closed.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing for us. You know, I've said it to multiple people. We were so fortunate that we had the base of members that we had, and not only just a base of members, but
These people saved the whole brand.
yeah, and that's something. If you're a member of one of our gyms and you're listening, I do want to pause and basically reiterate what Joe said. Like, you guys saved this. We're going on 8 locations. There'd be 0 if you guys didn't commit to, you know, at Roseland, realizing if I cancel my membership, Marquand doesn't have a job. You know, at Station Road, if I cancel my membership and don't do the online classes, right? Like, I can never come back into the building again. So that was a real possibility. And then on top of it, we talked about in other episodes, we had just come out of probably the worst year of business maybe in your life, 2019.
That's what I was going to talk about next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was basically like the reason why that like, and I'm not the person to really quit on just about anything.
No, definitely not.
Never. It's very, very.
I mean, how long did we beg you to close Madison?
Yeah.
Like, seriously,
Months.
Begged you.
Months. And I just put my foot down. No. And it got to the point to where like I just had to restructure it. But if you backtrack, we had a business model that was working, but it was very much like cash on hand based.
Yeah.
Right. Because we had a couple of bad hires and we've spoken about this. We don't need to dive into it. But we got to the point to where imagine you had close to $400,000 in debt. Right. You pay it all off. And then your whole company gets fucking shut down 2 weeks after you make your last payment. I literally I started laughing.
I remember. Yeah.
I literally I'm like, dude, you guys can't make this shit up. Right. Talk about like a wrench. And it's like, and I just like was shaking my head. I'm like, are you kidding me? So now we're gonna deal with this?
Yeah.
I can't even express the anger.
It's like the
that I had.
Step Brothers.
Yeah, literally.
I got a belly full of dog crap. Now you did this on me.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where like I was mentally like, I don't want to do this again. And after like 4 or 5 months of us like into COVID, I'm just like shaking my head. I'm like, how is this gonna even rebound? Okay. And at the time, I'm like, I'm infusing money every single
month.
month
Yep.
just to like keep everything floating.
Yeah.
And that was on top of all the pay cuts. That was on top of us going through literally, dude, remember when we were closed? We like turned the internet off at
Yeah.
all these locations. Like that's how how in
lean it
depth
was. Yeah.
I literally went through all the Amex charges and I was like, okay, we need to deactivate all of these charges because we're not using any of these things right now. And we'll turn them back on when and if we open.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's like, that's the shit that we had to do. Cause like you were like, it was basically, if I can cut these $500, I can keep this person on staff. Right. Cause it was like, we had to do something.
Yeah. It was
Right.
so
You
bad.
couldn't not offer something and then beg people to still be like, let them charge you.
Right.
Right. It was tough because of the shutdown, obviously, but where we saw a lot of grace and we didn't notice it until about a year and a half after. So COVID happened in 2020 in March, right? I
Yeah.
think it was. So
Yeah.
in March 2020, it wasn't until the middle of 2021 that we were like, hey, we don't need all this staff to
Yeah.
operate the same way.
Yep.
We don't need all these programs to operate the same way. So when we reevaluated, we sat one day and I'm like, dude, like, let's restructure this from A to Z.
Yep.
And that's what we did in 22 and 23. We restructured the entire, it was really half of 21. So it was really like almost 2.5 years
Yeah.
of complete restructure. And then what it did was it showed us how much we were operating with being overstaffed, things that we didn't need, and things that we could keep in-house.
Yep.
Okay. So then what ended up happening was we're now able to operate at a way leaner basis, which would require less members to be at what we would refer to as our break even.
Yeah.
Okay. So like it allowed us to really just dive into it and be like, okay, great. We were operating like this, but like, hey, we operated for the last year with only these people and everything was fine.
Yeah.
So do we need to do this? And the answer was no.
Yeah. It was huge because I mean, honestly, if we were to really look at it, Joe, and look in the mirror, right? Like without COVID occurring from our business, like we might have changed our model, but it would have taken way longer. Or we might have tried to just shove the square peg in the round hole for longer. But that forced us, like you said, we had to furlough people, we had to lay people off. And then I vividly remember, because like you mentioned, you were like, do I even want to do this anymore? Because at that point, the business was just a suck on your time, a suck on your energy, and a suck on your bank
What I
account.
started to do was we had some of those partnerships and I was like, I'm done with this shit.
Done with it.
I'm done with this. You guys are on your own.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have the mental capacity to handle. There was other problems, but,
Sure.
but it was like, I'm not dealing with this shit no more.
Yeah. And you kind of met with me and you were like, hey, listen, I have to put all my energy into my other business ventures. Figure this out.
That's literally what I said to you.
And I was
My
like,
exact words. I
yeah.
said, you need to figure this out. I know you love this industry. Figure it out so we can keep driving this forward.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right. And so we met and talked and was like, okay. And then, like you said, we just started drips and drabs. Okay. Hey, we're going to come back limited schedule. We're going to come back with this. And then it was like you said, it was like, oh, we're operating at a full schedule with half the full-time staff, and our part-timers are crushing it and they're doing a really good job. And I can actually pay the full-time staff member more.
Mhm.
The one GM, I can pay them more than the 3 full-time people I had. Maybe there's something to this.
Yeah.
And then we built out the GM's salary and comp packages to be like, cool, we can do this and we can do this. And then we can pay you this much. And it's like, now then the GMs were like,
Oh,
oh,
the jobs were real now.
yes.
It wasn't like we just talked about this the other day where we said that we always had a really hard time hiring GM positions, not from internal, well, actually even internal.
Yeah.
Now you think about it, is because we couldn't pay them enough to meet industry standard on the salary side.
Yeah.
The comp package always was up and beyond what our competitors were paying. But now we're getting people that are applying for jobs, where you said from F45, Orange Theory, from big box gyms, because like we are comparable, if not they can make more money with us.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's like that's what the restructure was. Our model was originally, I really liked full-time staff because you could hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Right. Or you're supposed to be able to hold them accountable.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah, I'm
podcast.
fucking talking about that. You were supposed to be able to hold them accountable because they're full time,
Right.
right? But the difference was it was so much easier to just operate with the GM managing the location and then having, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 part-time people to do the classes.
Yeah. And it allowed us to create a model where, and again, I try to impress this upon our GMs where, we want to empower them to make about 90% of the decisions. And it allows them to be like, almost operate as a gym owner, not completely, right?
Yeah.
Because, right, there is still decisions that they have to run by their district manager. However, they make most of the decisions themselves. And so it's like, you own this gym. Like, and that level of responsibility for the success of the gym for someone who has honestly a sense of self-pride is like, well, I don't want this gym to flounder. I want this gym to be the best. And so it allowed us to even push the envelope further. So it's like, cool, I can pay our full-time people more. I can get more productivity and have better margins to allow for there to be a healthier company. It was like a win-win-win across the board. And honestly, it would have never happened if we weren't forced into some really hard decisions because we had to close our doors.
Well, that's exactly what it was the forced decision actually allowed us to make like a 360 like restructure on the entire business. And now we have 8 locations, right? Soon to be 9.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Get ready. Honestly, guys, just get used to us.
Yeah, you guys are in deep
The
shit.
slow lean in coming soon. It's just going to happen over and over and over again.
But like that's why like COVID, like we laugh about it, like it was terrible, right?
Awful.
And it sucked for everybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it completely allowed us to be like, okay, we are now going to do this like this. And these are all the reasons why, because we're able to sit in a room and be like, okay, let's restructure how this process works.
Yeah.
And we finally got to the point to where like, yeah, we had like our franchise model of like how we were going to roll stuff out because if we were going to do more franchises at the time, this is how we're going to roll it out. But now we literally have like, we redid the entire new gym opening list.
Yeah, we did.
From A to Z, right? Like, it's funny. Like we just made a joke. Like half those fucking equipment companies are out of business.
I know.
So we had to like we had
Revamp.
to like decide like where we're going to get bars from and like all this other shit. It's like, it's just like annoying. But like now we have a structure and like literally a timetable of like, we order this now and then we do this, then we do this, then we do this. So when I say, hey, our target opening for like Summit, let's say it's February 15th, we've already started the process on all the things that we need in the gym, when the pre-sale starts, when the coming soon start, when the signage has to be up, when the floor has to go down. Like we have all that set up and we did that during COVID.
Yeah.
Right. So it allowed us to restructure the whole business and then implement all those things into the ones that we kept open. And now all those gyms crush it.
Yeah.
Okay. So implementing everything that we restructured and then we proved to ourselves that it works.
Yeah.
And now it's like, wow, now we created a scalable piece to be able to drive this to whatever we want to drive it to.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, guys, that really speaks to, we've talked about it on a couple different episodes about like, what do you do when things get tough?
That's fucking grit. Dude.
Yeah. Do you fold or do you figure it out? And, again, I don't think we would have had an option if we didn't have as many members as we did, but fortunately you guys stayed on, you guys were committed to us. That allowed us to push through that tough time. And then we were able to kind of, put on our big boy pants and be like, all right, how do we figure this out? And so, yeah, we were just kind of, honestly, Joe and I were just kind of talking in the car the other day. And as we were going through it, he was like, we should talk about this on the podcast. So we wanted to take some time to go through what we learned during COVID and really, guys, how what you see and what you get in the gym day to day really was a result of us being forced to shut down and make some hard decisions.
It was literally us reamping the entire business around COVID, forcing us to either close or reevaluate how we were doing stuff.
Exactly. So listen, guys, thanks for all the support you give us. Obviously, not just being in the gyms, but listening to us talk about whatever the heck we feel like talking about. We appreciate
two dumb
gym guys.
Two dumb gym guys.
So we appreciate your support. As always, guys, please follow us on Instagram, like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you listen on. We'll see you at the gym. Peace.